Hi, today we're talking about MS technology, or M+S technology, Mono+Stereo is really what we call it, technology. So Mono+Stereo technology is proprietary to One Sound. We developed this out of a need of having a isolated mono surrounded by the width of stereo for distributed audio application, front fill application. So to explain the concept is that this loudspeaker has a mono channel, and that mono channel is 110 degrees. And then to the left of it is the left channel covering the same area, almost the same area, and then the right channel. So it's a 3-channel loudspeaker. What makes it the most exciting is that the mono is coherent. In a stereo scenario where you have a left and a right, what happens is the mono is only in the center of what we call the sweet spot. So when people are listening to a set of stereo speakers, they have to kind of go like this to make sure they're in the one spot where the mono is coherent. So what happens with MS technology is that the mono plus the stereo is coherent in the same field. So you don't need to be center to hear the mono. You can be off axis at 80 degrees, and you're going to hear the stereo plus the mono. So it's a great advantage to the way I believe audio has been designed and installed for many years, which is the reason why in most audio application or installation you see things in mono. Because mono is the most important thing in our mix. If your mono sounds good, you basically have a good experience. So, but mono plus stereo doesn't take away from the mono and gives you that width of the stereo. How do we achieve it? And then we'll discuss quickly how you can use it specifically in applications. How do we achieve it is you take a left-right signal. So if you're using it in a distributed audio situation, it's just a left-right. The left-right comes in to an analog controller, which has a left-right mix 1 and a left-right mix 2. So the reason for that this unit has 2, which is the controller, has 2 channels of left-right, is for a front fill application where you might want to delay your outers than your inners. So it gives you the convenience of 2 channels of left-right. So we have a left-right mix 1 goes in. What comes out is a mid sides, okay? So it's exactly what stereo is a mid microphone or a mono microphone, and then a figure-8 microphone, which creates a stereo image. So basically we're deconstructing MS to mid plus sides. The mid plus sides goes to the amplifier in 2 channels, channel 1 and 2, then to the loudspeaker, which now is a 2-channel cable, 4 wires, into the loudspeaker, and then in the loudspeaker, another analog activity goes on to create the mono plus the sides, which is left-right, okay? And that's basically a summary of what MS technology is. Our controller, which is required, as well as 4 wires, 2 channels to run the MS controller, the mid plus the sides. So you have your mix 1, and then you have a left-right goes in, and these are just input lights. And this is also a high-quality line driver, isolator, so you can run XLRs upwards of 1,000 feet with this XLR, wire. So, and then again, the back will give you out a mid plus a sides. And then with our proprietary preset, you then would take channel 1, which is pin 1 plus or minus to the speaker in an NL4, to a pin 2 plus or minus, and that would be the sides. Okay? And that is a description of MS technology. Oh, you know what? I'm going to talk about applications quickly. So I use this speaker in a front fill application for the New York Philharmonic. And I do because I've done the Star Wars film with John Williams and the orchestra. It was the premiere, and I was the audio designer for that. And I realized that a third of my audience was basically hearing mono. They weren't getting any of the movement or any of the space. So I was already had this in mind, but at the time we then developed the MS technology, really motivated by the fact that a third of my audience is hearing mono, and I wanted them to have a bit of the experience. So again, as a front fill application, I have a singer, Idina Menzel or Yo-Yo Ma, and I add a little ambience or reverb or a little bit of the Frozen reverb room, and then I hear that coherent mono coming out of the loudspeaker, no matter where you're sitting. If it's off access of that front fill, okay, then the left and the right gives you that complete surround. So then the next question I had asked is, what is it like when I put 6 or 8 of these together, which is I use 8 of them, is when they're together, basically, if you're completely off access of this loudspeaker, it simply becomes a mono loudspeaker, and then but you're hearing now and your brain perceives what is the loudest in that area. So then you focus immediately on the speaker that's in front of you. So, and that's just the way we hear. So those are one application. The second application would be as a distributed audio, which really works out beautifully, that in a restaurant scenario, you have these positioned in a way that everyone at a table is hearing the lyric in the mono coherent, and then everyone is hearing the space. The thing that's hard to describe, and you have to experience it, is that because the left-right is taken out of the mono, in theory, because mono is the left-right combined, but the information that's different between left and right is not in the mono anymore. So what happens is that your mono just sounds clear and coherent. It sounds exactly the same as if you're in that sweet spot, whereas when you go off axis of the sweet spot, you're not hearing mono correctly anymore. So everyone in a restaurant is hearing out of a loudspeaker, or if you have a left-right, you're hearing out of 2 loudspeakers, but only one person in that field is hearing that mono correctly, and it's very sometimes complicated to understand what's happening, So again, the idea that the left and the right is out of the mono keeps that mono coherent over 110 degree field. There'll be another video about this actual speaker, because there are many speakers in the Mono+Stereo line, okay? So this is MS Technology from One Sound.